The story unfolds on a quiet train platform, just like any other weekday morning at 6:58 a.m. The protagonist, on his usual commute to Maibara, catches sight of a familiar face, a girl who attends a different school. He knows nothing about her, except that they always board the same train. His attention is often drawn to her, but today feels different. For the first time, she's sitting right next to him, and the proximity stirs a nervousness in him that he hasn't felt before. Despite rehearsing questions in his head every day, what her name might be, or which club she's part of, he's never managed to gather enough courage to speak to her. His silent admiration for her has now spanned months, each morning marked by a 20-minute train ride filled with unspoken feelings. This quiet, one-sided infatuation began when he first started high school. He's not alone in this unspoken journey. A few regular passengers on the train have noticed his affection and are silently cheering him on, hoping he'll finally muster the courage to make a move. It all started about 4 months ago, when the protagonist first realized that the girl always boarded the train at the same time. From her school uniform, he guessed that she might be a student at Rakuta High School. 3 months ago, she missed the train for the first time, and the 3 passengers who had been following his quiet pursuit were surprised to see him searching for her, as if he couldn't believe she wasn't there. A month later, she sat beside him for the first time, and he was overwhelmed with nervous excitement, trying hard to suppress a smile so he wouldn't appear strange. The 3 passengers, having noticed the boy's obvious joy, were certain that he had fallen for her. Their shared interest in this budding, silent romance had even led them to create a chat group where they could discuss the situation. One of them, an older man who worked as a manager, was growing increasingly frustrated with the boy's lack of action, wondering how he could keep waiting to confess his feelings. The office lady in the group defended the boy, saying the suspense was part of the charm, while the university student chimed in, acknowledging that confessing isn't as easy as it seems. He even teased the manager, suggesting that he'd understand the difficulty better if he confessed to the office lady right then and there. Taking the joke too far, the manager sent a message to the group, admitting he always kept an eye on her. When the office lady caught the meaning, her horrified expression made him quickly backtrack, saying it was just a joke. But it was too late. She hinted she might not take the train the next day. The university student remarked that confessing feelings out of the blue could make anyone cautious, a realization that brought the group to think about the boy's situation. They assumed he must be worried that if he didn't act soon, the girl might stop taking the train altogether. The protagonist was indeed thinking the same thing. If the girl was a junior at Rakuta, she might stop riding this train by next spring. He knew that if he wanted to get to know her, he'd have to talk to her soon. This thought weighed on him heavily, making him wish their situation wasn't so awkward and complicated. He fantasized about how much simpler it would be if they could just chat like regular passengers. Meanwhile, the university student enthusiastically suggested that the boy should ask for her phone number, which led the other 2 passengers to speculate that this must be his usual approach with girls. Unaware of the trio's ongoing chat, the protagonist wrestled with the idea of approaching her. After months of silence, it felt odd to suddenly strike up a conversation. He needed to think of a natural topic. At the same time, the university student messaged the group, suggesting that the boy could talk about anything, but he would only get one chance to make a good first impression. Just as he was deep in thought, the boy noticed something surprising. Letting out a startled cry, he caught everyone's attention, including the girls. The passengers in the chat group scrambled to understand his sudden outburst. The university student finally pointed out what had caught his eye. The girl had a keychain on her bag of Cheyenne, a character from the popular online game Genshin. The office lady quickly notices that the protagonist and the girl both have the same keychain. Although she finds it exciting, the university student thinks it's not unusual since the game the keychain represents has become very popular. After gathering his courage, the protagonist apologizes for his sudden outburst, and, while stuttering a little, nervously asks the girl if she also enjoys playing Genshin. However, before the girl can answer, an old man sitting directly in front of him responds instead, enthusiastically sharing that he too likes the game. The group chat, observing the scene, is less than thrilled about the old man's interruption, as the question wasn't directed toward him. Despite the group's disappointment, the old man continues to comment on the situation, remarking on the strange coincidence, and then asks the protagonist about his rank in the game. The boy feels disheartened by the misunderstanding, especially after working up the courage to start the conversation. To make matters worse, the old man shifts his attention to the girl, asking her about the keychain on her bag. This unexpected twist leaves everyone in the group chat stunned once again. Hesitantly, the girl admits that she does enjoy the game, but only started playing recently because of its growing popularity. Before the boy can respond, the old man interjects again, saying that her motivation for playing doesn't matter and that she shouldn't feel the need to compare herself to others. The girl, though slightly taken aback, politely replies that she genuinely enjoys the game's cute characters, while quietly appreciating how kind the old man seems. Meanwhile, everyone in the group chat eagerly waits to see what will happen next. The protagonist, feeling another burst of confidence, asks the girl if she would like to play the game with him, hinting that their shared interests must be fate. The chat group reacts with excitement at his boldness, with the manager praising his courage and the office lady anticipating the girl's reply. The university student feels hopeful that this might be a chance for the boy and the girl to exchange contact information and connect more deeply. But just before the girl can respond, the old man shyly interrupts once again, asking if the boy also wants to play the game with him. The group nearly explodes with frustration at the old man's interference. The office lady grows annoyed at his smug attitude, while the manager silently begs for him to realize what's happening between the boy and the girl. Ignoring the tension around him, the old man casually shares his contact information with the protagonist. The boy, still recovering from the series of unexpected turns, is further surprised to learn that the old man is getting off at the same train station as him. Despite the chaotic turn of events, the group chat agrees that the day has been quite exciting. The university student is happy for the boy, feeling that he made a real effort to connect with his crush and find common ground, while the office lady reflects on how strange and bittersweet unrequited love can be. As the protagonist leaves the train along with the old man, another young girl, Himari, enters and immediately notices Nayujin, the boy's crush. She greets her and strikes up a conversation. The group chat is buzzing with excitement, surprised to learn that Nayujin has a friend, and eager to discover more about her. Himari, noticing her friend's blushing face, curiously asks why she looks so flustered. Nayujin admits that she had been thrilled when someone expressed interest in talking to her and playing games together, but now feels embarrassed about how the situation unfolded. Her confession leaves the group stunned, wanting to somehow call the protagonist back, but by now, he's already walking home, disappointed at having missed his chance. After 3 days, including the weekend, the protagonist finally gets another chance to sit next to his crush. Their previous interaction ended awkwardly, so he wasn't expecting her to sit near him again. This puzzles him, and he wonders why she chose the seat beside him. He briefly considers that it might be because it was the only available seat, but dismisses the idea, knowing it wouldn't be convenient for her to sit there. He's convinced no one would willingly sit next to him. Although he wants to clear up the tension between them by confessing his feelings, he can't bring himself to do so just yet. Meanwhile, Nayujin, still embarrassed about thinking he was talking to her during their last encounter, tries to maintain her composure. Despite her embarrassment, she looks forward to interacting with him through the game they were supposed to play. Their occasional glances at each other don't go unnoticed by the other passengers. A university student on the train is convinced they both have secret crushes on one another, while an office lady finds it odd that Nayujin, being young, always appears so serious. The office lady tries to figure out the puzzle of their relationship, though it only leaves her with a headache, while the manager feels his blood pressure rising from the tension. The university student stays calm, suggesting that the situation can't be solved by simply calling it a misunderstanding, a statement the office lady quickly agrees with. When the manager inquires about what they're discussing, the office lady explains that they initially thought the girl had feelings for the boy, but now believe they were mistaken. The university student adds that Nayujin was just embarrassed by misinterpreting the boy's gesture and wasn't hiding any feelings. From his perspective, the boy is likely confused, as men tend to remember these small details. The group worries that if the boy tries to confess his feelings, he might face a harsh rejection, which would deeply hurt him. However, the manager remains hopeful, certain that they make the perfect couple. The office lady, too, believes there's more to Nayujin's actions and hopes the boy will pick up on the subtle signals. Apologizing for not realizing it sooner, the university student comments that he hadn't understood how frequently sitting next to someone on the train could be a sign of affection. His remark flusters both the manager and the office lady, with the manager hurriedly clarifying that he has a family, and the office lady insists she's not doing anything intentionally. Returning to the topic of the protagonist's unspoken feelings, the office lady expresses concern that the boy might have misinterpreted their previous encounter. The university student, ever hopeful, believes they both harbor secret feelings for one another. He reflects on how, just when it seemed like they were getting closer, some unknown force kept pulling them apart. By this point, the manager grows tired of the conversation, but the others ignore him. The office lady remarks that love is often filled with misunderstandings, adding that everything can't always go smoothly. The manager is confused by her comment, while the university student agrees, stating that the girl's feelings are difficult to read, whereas the boy's emotions are much clearer. Noticing how troubled they all are by the situation, the manager declares that he will take matters into his own hands and solve the problem. While this unfolds, the protagonist is lost in self-criticism, calling himself a coward for being unable to even start a conversation with her. Despite now having mutual interests to discuss, and noticing her excitement at the prospect of talking to him, he wonders if she still sees him as just another stranger on the train. He envies people like Saito from the soccer team, thinking how much easier things would be if he were as confident or had interesting stories to share. Instead, he feels trapped in his fear, unable to move forward. As these thoughts swirl in his mind, the silence is broken by the university student, who points out something to the office lady. They notice Naryujin's reflection in the window, holding a book with what looks like a note. The protagonist, curious, also notices it, and is shocked to see that the note seems to say she likes him too. Just as he starts to react, the manager interrupts by revealing that it's only the title of the book she's reading. Frustrated, the manager updates their group chat, mentioning that he's reading the same love novel and feels stuck in the middle of their situation. The office lady responds, asking why he's so invested in their love lives. The protagonist, heart pounding, feels relieved to have avoided a massive misunderstanding. The university student, though, remains cautious, pointing out that just because someone reads a love story, it doesn't necessarily mean they're in love. The protagonist reminds himself that she's just another student who rides the same train, and she might not even notice him. He realizes that he needs to stop living in a fantasy and find the courage to speak to her. Meanwhile, Naryujin glances at him from the side, disappointed to find him looking away. At school, her friend Himari warns her to be more careful when reading while walking and asks her about the novel she's reading. Naryujin explains that it's about a man and a woman who take the same train to school every day. She adds that while it might not mean anything to the man, it's something special to her. She wishes she could thank him, as she feels an attraction to him, even though they've never spoken. Himari notices how personal Naryujin's words sound, but Naryujin quickly clarifies that she's only talking about the book's main characters. Her friends remain suspicious, but Naryujin insists that, unlike the stories, she's very aware of her situation. Meanwhile, the three other passengers meet after getting off the train, still trying to figure out if Naryujin is secretly in love with the protagonist, and just waiting for him to make the first move. Hikichi finds himself awake in the dead of night, feeling a surge of disappointment for having forgotten his English homework. The thought of failing the subject weighs heavily on his mind, and he knows that unless he completes the assignment correctly, his grades could suffer. But despite the exhaustion settling in, he remains determined not to miss the morning train. His mind isn't just focused on academics, though. There's another motivation driving him forward. No matter how tired he may be, Hikichi refuses to miss the chance to ride the same train as the girl he's been noticing. The next morning, as Hikichi rides the train, three passengers watch with surprise as Naryujin sits motionless while Hikichi sleeps peacefully against her shoulder. When he stirs, he is startled by the realization of where his head has been resting and immediately pulls away, apologizing profusely. Naryujin reassures him in a soft whisper that it's okay, but Hikichi is still in disbelief, his mind racing at the thought of what just happened. He desperately hopes he didn't embarrass himself by drooling on her. Meanwhile, both of their hearts beat rapidly, while the surrounding passengers remain dumbfounded by the scene. The office lady is the first to break the silence, muttering in disbelief about how brazen young people have become, recalling how all she had done was gently nudge an old man. The manager shares her unease, commenting on how strange it all feels, but the university student among them has a different perspective. He brushes off their concerns, saying there's no point in comparing the mundane experience of commuter trains to the youthful energy they just witnessed. As for Hikichi, he can't stop freaking out over how strange his behavior was. He's deeply worried that Naryujin might decide never to sit next to him again. Desperate not to let that happen, he forces himself to stay awake, fearing he might fall asleep once more and lean against her shoulder. Despite his best efforts, sleepiness overtakes him, causing him to sway uncontrollably, and the passengers around him eagerly anticipate whether he'll give in again. Secretly, they all hope to witness the same moment once more, but before anything happens, Hikichi jolts awake when the next station's announcement plays. He quickly scans his surroundings, relieved that his stop is still far off, but frustrated to realize that he had zoned out again, though this time he's certain he wasn't leaning on Naryujin. The situation continues to grow more challenging for Hikichi, as the warm, swaying train makes it impossible to stay alert, no matter how tired he is. But then, an idea strikes him. Maybe he's overthinking it. Instead of forcing himself to stay awake, he now plans to just avoid the problem entirely by leaning against the window. With that thought, he soon drifts back into sleep, much to the disappointment of the observing passengers. The manager frowns at Hikichi's attempt to be gentlemanly, while the office lady shakes her head, believing that manners shouldn't be his top priority. The university student, however, remains unfazed by the situation, much to the office lady's frustration. Seeing her irritation, the student calmly reassures her, hinting that they should remain patient. At the other's puzzled expressions, he explains that after the tunnel, the train hits a sharp curve that will naturally cause Hikichi to lean toward Naryujin, whether he's asleep or not. The three passengers light up with excitement, eagerly awaiting the inevitable moment when inertia would bring the two closer once more. As the tunnel ends, they can barely contain themselves, watching intently as Hikichi starts to sway toward her, Naryujin just as nervous. But just as they are about to witness the moment, they, too, are thrown off balance by the train's movement. The office lady, in a panic, accidentally pushes her arm into the manager's neck, while the university student struggles to text updates in their group chat. Amidst the chaos, Hikichi apologizes again for leaning on Naryujin, and the office lady is left frustrated, having missed the crucial moment. The university student points out the absurdity of the situation as he notices the manager practically choking from the office lady's misplaced arm, barely holding himself up against the opposite window. Meanwhile, Hikichi is now wide awake, realizing that he has repeated the same mistake yet again. He has no memory of how he ended up leaning on Naryujin, and his mind races with worry that she might think poorly of him. Fearing that she'll change her seat next time, he tries not to dwell on the thought. But before he can overthink the situation, Naryujin gently taps his shoulder, letting him know they've reached his station. Startled out of his thoughts, Hikichi thanks her sincerely before hurrying to leave the train, still amazed that she actually spoke to him. Despite the regularity of their shared commute, the moment feels surreal to him. As Hikichi exits, Naryujin finds herself wondering if he'll think she's strange for noticing him and knowing where he gets off. On the other hand, Hikichi is thrilled, realizing that she's been paying attention to him all along. The gossiping passengers are equally delighted by the girl's subtle attention toward the boy. The office lady, now fully caught up in the moment, asks excitedly if anyone managed to record the interaction, only for the university student to remind her that filming such moments isn't allowed. Hikichi begins his day by reading his horoscope, which informs him that those born under the Cancer sign have a chance to form a connection with someone nearby. This vague prediction leaves him anxious as he boards the train, unsure if it will come true, given how many people share his star sign. Yet, despite his uncertainty, there's a lingering sense that something is different today. The atmosphere feels charged, as if the other passengers are somehow in tune with his unease. Settling into his usual seat, Hikichi mentally prepares to apologize to the girl for yesterday's incident, hoping that if she sits beside him, it won't be awkward. He keeps repeating to himself that it won't be. But as the train speeds forward, the horoscope's prediction swirls in his mind, intensifying his nervousness. He's even surprised by how fast the train seems to be moving today, as though time itself is pushing him towards something inevitable. The odd feeling lingers, and although part of him knows it might just be a coincidence, he can't shake the newfound courage building within him. When he feels someone sit beside him, Hikichi turns, heart pounding, ready to address the girl about yesterday. However, instead of seeing her, he is met with the sight of the old man who had sat beside him once before. The surprise is so strong that his face visibly drops, which doesn't go unnoticed by the other passengers who are secretly observing him. 3 of them, including the manager, exchange curious glances, wondering why Hikichi seems disappointed. The manager, puzzled, doesn't understand why the boy seems so upset to see the old man, who, to them, appears to be nothing more than an innocent third wheel. The man even has the same keychain as Hikichi and the girl, a sign of their shared love for the online game Genshin. As Hikichi wrestles with his emotions, the old man, unaware of the boy's inner turmoil, cheerfully starts a conversation. He mentions that he, too, is a Cancer and has read the same horoscope for the day. Meanwhile, in the group chat, the office lady is growing frustrated. She's annoyed that the old man has interrupted Hikichi's opportunity to speak to his crush, and she's not shy about expressing her anger. In contrast, the manager sees nothing wrong with the situation, while the university students agree, viewing the old man as harmless. They're more curious about what Hikichi will do next. Then, they notice the girl standing awkwardly in a corner, her face flushed with embarrassment. Nayujin, the girl, is too nervous to sit beside Hikichi, and her hesitation only fuels the curiosity of the passengers. The office lady guesses that the girl isn't angry or upset about yesterday, given how close she's standing to him. But the university student points out that the situation is now complicated. With the old man there, Hikichi can't afford to be rude, especially since the girl is nearby and can hear everything. They all seem to believe Hikichi is handling the situation well, bonding with the old man over their shared love for Genshin. However, the university student sees a problem. If Hikichi and the old man keep getting along so well, the girl might mistakenly think they are close friends, which could lead her to give up her seat to him in the future. This possibility worries the passengers, with the office lady commenting that their source of morning excitement might end if the old man starts regularly sitting next to Hikichi. Still, they all know the boy is likely still nervous, trying to make sense of the unexpected turn of events. Just then, the old man asks Hikichi if he played the second act of a time-limited event in Genshin. The mention of his favorite game instantly perks Hikichi up, much to the displeasure of the group chat, who are not thrilled by how comfortable the old man and Hikichi are getting. The office lady then points out that Nayujin is visibly shaking. She's desperate to join in on the conversation but is too shy to speak. The university student assumes she's shaking because she's afraid of losing her spot next to Hikichi permanently. Meanwhile, Hikichi is deep in conversation with the old man, who mentions how it's his first time finding someone who shares the same favorite character. Hikichi, smiling brightly, says it's his first time talking about his favorite character like this too, and he feels as if he's confessing something personal. The university student, however, disagrees, while the office lady sees it as a kind of confession and starts to worry about how Nayujin must be feeling. The girl, dying to join the conversation, watches silently, while the group is sure she's getting frustrated by Hikichi's focus on the game. The old man then makes a surprising offer, suggesting they play the game together on the train next time. He asks Hikichi if he always takes the same train, hoping to sync their schedules. This makes the manager uneasy, and he fears that the old man would take this seat beside Hikichi permanently. The office lady is now genuinely worried that the budding love story between Hikichi and Nayujin will never bloom. All eyes are on Hikichi, eagerly awaiting his response. Before Hikichi can answer, Nayujin, in a burst of nervous energy, turns around and almost shouts for him to wait. But before anyone can react, the old man reveals that he only rides this train a few days each month, putting everyone's minds at ease. Hikichi is startled to see Nayujin has actually turned around, and she, now mortified by her own outbursts, quickly turns back, embarrassed. The group chat is buzzing, shocked by how the old man has unintentionally toyed with everyone's emotions. The next day, Nayujin keeps her distance, standing far away from Hikichi, too embarrassed by the events to sit next to him again. As Nayujin settles back into her seat beside the protagonist, the air between them grows thick with unspoken tension. Neither dares to look at the other, their nerves apparent to everyone in the train car. Yet, for once, the other passengers seem less interested in their awkwardness. The enticing aroma of sausage-egg muffins fills the air, diverting attention. The office lady, curious, wonders who brought the delicious food aboard, while a nearby university student simply comments on how good it smells. Though the office lady doesn't mind the presence of food, she's slightly annoyed that it's pulling her focus away from observing the sweet interactions between Nahyujin and the boy. As if on cue, the university student points out that the couple seems even more fidgety than usual. The manager, defensive, quickly states that he hasn't done anything, to which the student reassures him that the muffins aren't the issue. What's puzzling him is the couple's heightened nervousness. Suddenly, the silence is broken by a loud stomach growl, catching everyone's attention. Nahyujin, feeling mortified, initially thinks the sound came from her, but soon realizes with relief that she isn't the culprit. Instead, a girl sitting in front of them sheepishly admits that she's the one whose stomach made the noise. Both Nahyujin and the boy are relieved, though she still regrets skipping breakfast due to her dieting. Meanwhile, Hikichi shares in the embarrassment, though the situation would be far less awkward if Nahyujin, his crush, weren't sitting so close. The three passengers observing the scene, the office lady, university student, and manager, are delighted by how the couple is doing everything they can to keep their hunger hidden from one another. The university student muses that this is just part of the excitement of new love, while the office lady eagerly notes they'll need to pay closer attention to the pair in the future. Out of nowhere, the office lady groans, causing the others to glance at her in concern. She quickly explains that the muffin smell is getting to her as well, and she's frustrated that her stomach might betray her, potentially ruining her enjoyment of the unfolding romance before her, which she now likens to a staged performance. The university student admits that he's starting to feel hungry too, but the manager assures them that the muffin's aroma is fading as they cool down. Hikichi, for his part, hopes he can stave off his hunger as well. But just then, another girl on the train begins talking about her lunch plans, and a boy sitting nearby starts adding items to her menu. The temptation of food becomes too much for everyone. The office lady humorously complains that talking about lunch at this hour should be illegal, and even the manager starts to succumb to his own hunger. As the others struggle to control their growing cravings, Nahyujin suddenly remembers the pack of gummies in her bag. She pulls it out, offering a glimmer of hope, only to find the pack empty. The passengers are collectively disappointed. At the same time, the manager notices Hikichi retrieving his lunchbox. Though the idea of food excites the others, the manager is concerned that if Hikichi eats now, he'll have nothing left for lunch, and worse, the smell will torture everyone even more. Hikichi, ignoring the manager's warnings, opens his lunchbox, releasing the tantalizing scent of curry into the air. The passengers, already hungry, are hit with another wave of desire. The office lady feels like today's train ride is nothing short of torture, and the university student remarks that some of the passengers may not be able to bear the situation much longer. Despite their own growing hunger, they're all still fixated on how the couple will handle the moment. Nahyujin, struggling to keep her composure, knows that she can't hold out much longer against the smell of curry. The tension rises as everyone waits to see whose stomach will betray them next. Finally, the manager speaks up, reminding the others that as adults, they shouldn't encourage the situation out of their own amusement. They should act responsibly and try to help the couple rather than enjoy their discomfort. His words make the others feel a bit guilty for getting so caught up in the drama. Then, in a surprising turn, the manager reveals that he was the one who brought the food aboard the train. His confession shocks the office lady and the university student, and they begin to playfully argue over his decision. As they bicker, Nahyujin pours herself some tea, which gives Hikichi the idea to drink water as well. But before either can find relief, both their stomachs growl loudly, followed by a chorus of growls from the other passengers. The office lady, frustrated, points out how everyone is suffering because of the food, while the manager sheepishly admits that the curry smell probably isn't helping. The absurdity of the situation makes everyone laugh, easing the tension between Nahyujin and Hikichi. For once, they aren't shy in front of each other, sharing a brief smile amidst the chaos. When the train finally stops, the nearby McDonald's and curry shops are flooded with hungry passengers, driven by the ordeal they all just endured.